Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer here with Breeders Cup Focus, taking a closer look at some of the major contenders for this year's Breeders Cup Distaff. Let's throw up the list right now. Ranked in odds order, the very preliminary morning line odds for the Distaff compiled by DRF Spread Free. And take your pick of Pletchers. It's Nest and Malathat, 1-2 on the line, 2-1 on the 3-year-old filly Nest.
Yeah, coming in just top form too, Dan. She got her prep in against, a much weaker group of older fillies at Aqueduct. Most recently, looked no worse for wear in there, winning easily again. Distance, no problem for her. Still has forward to go. I'm not arguing with her as the morning line favorite.
Let's take a look at Nest's most recent race, her race against older horses in the Beldame. She was a huge favorite. She was ridden like a huge favorite, taken to the outside to be clear of any sort of traffic. And much as she did in Saratoga, she simply dominated this field. The perfect prep, you would think, didn't take a lot out of her.
No, didn't have to work hard at all in here. Got a perfect trip, but she gets perfect trips because, that's sort of her running style, Dan. Very handy, even though she's a really strong finisher, as you can see here. She gets forward in her races and gets the position that she wants more often than not. It's a really deadly combination.
Her older stablemate, Malathat, is pretty good in her own right. She's also by Curlin, and she's coming into the Breeders' Cup in very sharp form. She won a prep race over the Keeneland Strip. It was the Spinster, and we'll watch that race right now. And Latruska, who's tailed a little bit off form, made the lead as usual. Malathat ran right by her, turning into the stretch, and she goes on to a solid victory. She's not going to win by a tremendous margin like Nest, but she fires every time, and she's a very professional, hard-knocking filly.
Yeah, she is, and she's also another one who's pretty tactical, too. It's not like she's a one-run closer. She gets good trips in her races. This looks like just a perfect prep, where a horse who at one time, Latruska, would have been a serious rival for Malathat there. Latruska feels like her best days are behind her, and so this prep was very easy for Malathat over a Keeneland course that she's proven 3 times now that she really likes.
The third choice on the DRF preliminary morning line is trained by Chad Brown. That's Search Results. She is 5-1, and Search Results has run well without winning in several major races this year. In the Ogden Phipps on the Belmont Stakes Day undercard, she dueled with Latruska, put that horse away, and after those fast fractions, ran a pretty good third behind Clairiere and Malathat. In the Personal Ensign, she was involved with Latruska again got the better of Latruska, and then ended up finishing behind Malathat. Let's watch the ladder race right now up at Saratoga. Here she is. She's been close to Latruska. She makes the lead. It looks like she's on her way. Malathat just grinds her down.
Malathat wants this distance more than Search Results does. And listen, at the end of the day, Search Results runs really well here. It's actually a career best performance for her as far as buyers go. And she was, up close to the pace, but because she wasn't contesting it, Dan, and Malathat was sitting right behind her for that entire trip. And you saw what happened in the stretch there. She just came and ran her over late. There's not a ton separating these two, but based on their, contests in the past, Malathat's the better horse.
Now, it appears that Latruska will not compete in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. That might make the pace a little bit easier, not only for Search Results, but for Society, an upwardly mobile 3-year-old filly who's paired up 100 Beyer tops in her last 2 races, including a gate-to-wire score in the Cotillion. Is Society good enough, if able to get to the lead and maybe back it down, to upset the big 2?
I don't know. I feel like this is a really tough test for her. She has been pretty impressive in her last couple of starts. So then I thought she ran really well when she won the Cotillion at Parks the last time we saw her. That was a pretty impressive performance. But man, is she jumping in against some really nice fillies in this race.
It's funny how everybody leaps off the ship after one bad race. Clairiere came back this year. It looked like she had reached full maturity. She beat Malathat. It seemed on the square in the Ogden Phipps. She looked good early in the Saratoga meeting. She didn't run well last time out at Saratoga, and trainer Steve Asmussen said there was an excuse. She had a cut in her mouth. Now she's going to be coming into this race way under the radar, and we know she has plenty of races to win a race like the Distaff.
Yeah, of course. She's, beat Malathot in both the Shuvi and the Phipps earlier in the year. They came up for the personal ensign, and she wound up favored in that race. I don't know what happened there, Dan. I know that they said that she had a cut in her mouth. She did sort of act up in the gate a little bit before they sprung it. And then when they did spring it, Clarier showed up with absolutely nothing in there. She wound up last. She never made any kind of a run. It was really disappointing. And now we haven't seen her since. So if you feel like you're going to get the good Clarier on Breeders' Cup Day, you're going to sort of do it on faith, based on what she had been doing prior to that personal ensign. And obviously what she was doing prior to that was really, really good stuff.
Take a look at some of the fringe contenders for this year's Breeders' Cup Distaff, and Secret Oath didn't look like a fringe contender in the spring when she beat Nest in the prestigious Kentucky Oaks. It just appears she's gone off form for Mr. Lucas.
Kind of feels that way. Personally, I just felt like, obviously she did run really well in the Kentucky Oaks. So did Nest. I felt like Trips made the difference there, and Secret Oath got the better one. They matched up again a couple of times in Saratoga. It was no contest. Nest is a better filly than Secret Oath. Secret Oath, though, if she shows up, will be a very big price.
And Blue Stripe appears to be the best from the West. She'll be coming from Southern California, but she's light on numbers, and this would be the toughest field she's faced.
Yeah, it's not an easy distaff this year. I mean, it's it feels like it could be a pretty short field, Dan, but there's a lot of quality in here.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Maybe not the biggest field, but it is really deep in terms of quality. And right now, pick a Pletcher. Nest and Malathot, the two favorites for the Breeders' Cup Distaff.